Tes.
Ya.
C.
Suruh maju dulu aja, Kak.
Kepada para hadirin, silakan maju dahulu untuk mengisi bangku-bangku yang kosong terlebih dahulu. Bapak Ibu sekalian, dipersilahkan.
Kita berdiri dulu. Oh, aku lucu dong. Hah? Lucu. Ini udah berdiri kok. Iya kan? Oh, udah main kok.
Administrative challenges in the rapid development of time has created a dynamic and diversity. Administrative science has also become one of the sources of values, moral, aesthetic, ethics, and guidance that accompanies development to address challenges. It has brought the establishment of State College of Administrative Science, or STI-ALAN, which has now transformed into the NIPA-School of Administration in order to meet the public's need for an excellent human resource through a quality vocational and professional education, as well as acquire the ability to face the administration and development challenges.
Selamat datang di Politeknik STI-ALAN Jakarta.
Initially, the NIPA-School of Administration was established as the State College of Administration Science (PTDIAN) under the regulation of the First Minister's Decree of the Republic of Indonesia number 57A MP 1960. Furthermore, through the Presidential Decree number 100 of 1999. PTDIAN was transformed into a state-aligned, which is decided as a service college to organize academic and professional education programs in the field of administrative science for state, official of central and local governments, state and regional armed enterprises, as well as the Indonesian national military and the State Police of the Republic of Indonesia, in accordance with regulation of the head of the National Institute of Public Administration, number 15 of 2017, on organization and management, the NIPA-School of Administration, starting in January 2020. STI-ALAN has transformed into the NIPA-School of Administration to perform vocational and professional education only for civil servants in particular, but also for general students. To achieve success and excellence of our education, the NIPA-School of Administration has developed a quiz-site in particular, but also for general students. To achieve success and excellence of our education, the NIPA-School of Administration has developed a quiz-site in particular, but also for general students. To achieve success and excellence of our education, the NIPA-School of Administration has
University, Hansei, program, Hansei University Surgery program. Nervous. Oh, ngebekas ya.
Iya, udah jam 8.
Siapa?
berarti.
Ih.
Ketika ngomong
Jaim.
jadi terus.
Speaker ada di seperti ini. Ya, siap. Iya, sama. The Honorable baru ya. Ya, oke, siap. Ya, sebenarnya Vice Director Saud Dr. UAE Dr. Rai bin Shams IAPA Bahrain, Dr. Yo Hoon An Hansei University South Korea, Paula Schommer Dr. Thurmaier, Northern Illinois University USA, ini memalukan banget. Ya, yang Makassar sama Bandung. Ini Pak kita. Iya, show Nation Institute of Content.
Administrative challenges in the rapid development of time has created a dynamic and diversity. Administrative science has also become one of the sources of values, moral, aesthetic, ethic, and guidance that accompanies development to address challenges. It has prompted the establishment of State College of Administrative Science, or STIALAN, which has now transformed into the NIPA-School of Administration in order to meet the public's need for an excellent human resource through a quality vocational and professional education, as well as acquire the ability to to face the administration and development challenges.
Selamat datang di Politeknik STI Alan, Jakarta.
Initially, the NIPA-School of Administration was established as the State College of Administration Science (PTDIAN) under the regulation of the First Minister's Decree of the Republic of Indonesia number 578 MP 1960. Furthermore, through the Presidential Decree number 100 of 1999, PTDIAN was transformed into a STI Alan, which is designated as a service college to organize academic and professional education programs in the field of administrative science for state, official of central and local government, state and regional owned enterprises, as well as the Indonesian national military and the state police of the Republic of Indonesia. In accordance with regulation of the head of the National Institute of Public Administration number 15 of 2017 on organization and management, the NIPA-School of Administration, starting in January 2020, STI Alan has transformed into the NIPA-School of Administration to perform vocational and professional education not only for civil servants in particular, but also for general students. To achieve success and excellence of our education, the NIPA-School of Administration has developed a requisite vision and mission. The NIPA-School of Administration organizes three vocational and professional education programs, including the Apply Undergraduate Program, the Apply Master Program, and the Apply Doctoral Program, accredited by the National Accreditation Body (BANPT). The Apply Undergraduate Program consists of three following programs of study: Public Sector Business Administration (ABSP), has two concentration: Entrepreneurship and Marketing Plan. ABSP program of study is the only program of study in Indonesia which combines the science of public administration and business administration. Here are the vision and mission of ABSP program of study. Career opportunities of the ABSP graduates are: entrepreneur, startup initiator with business management expertise and skill. The graduates are able to see business problems holistically and solve them creatively. Manager or administrator, as professional with business leadership skill and ability to create marketing and operational plan for a well-qualified company. Human Apparatus Research Management (M.Si.) program with the vision of becoming an excellent vocational program of study in the field of Human Apparatus Research Management. In 2021, M.Si.) applied a one-step ahead learning method with e-learning that can be accessed from anywhere. M.Si.'s vision and mission are: career opportunities of the M.Si.) graduates are: Human Resource Consultant, Human Resource Specialist, Training and Development Managers, Human Resources Analyst, Human Resources Manager, and many more. The State Development Administration, APN, has for concentration, development management, archival management, policy analysis, and asset management. APN is a program of study that focuses on science and the ability to implement knowledge of the field of state. In order to support student activities, the NIPA-School of Administration's students were given the opportunity to participate in various student activities such as the Student Senate SEMA, Student Association HIMA, and Student Activities Unit UKM, which particularly include interest in these following scopes: sport, research, religious activities, art, public relation, martial art. As a means to support academic activities, the NIPA-School of Administration also provides several activities such as professional and competent certification for lecturers, national and international seminars, book review, religious activities, new students orientation, graduation, welcome home activities for alumni. The achievements of the NIPA-School of Administration vision and mission can be seen by its success in creating graduates in all regions of Indonesia. The NIPA-School of Administration has developed partnership with various parties of governmental, institution, and private sector, as well as being awarded by the Ministry of the State Apparatus and Bureaucratic Reform, also the National Archive of the Republic Indonesia for the excellent service and archive management.
Mari bergabung bersama Politeknik Istialan Jakarta. Advancing competencies, bringing change. Mantap, dahsyat, luar biasa.
Ladies and gentlemen, please mute your speakers before we can greet Dr. Thurmaier from Northern Illinois University. Please welcome Dr. Kurt has already joined the Zoom meeting with us.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Kurt. Good morning.
Good evening.
Oh, it's evening there, isn't it?
It's still Tuesday night.
Oh, it's Tuesday. It's Wednesday here already.
Right. So the mic's okay?
It's okay. Thank you, Dr. Kurt.
Thank you.
The conference will start soon. We can rest for a while.
Good morning and please welcome to
The conference.
to Dr. Young Hoon and from Hansei University, South Korea. And please welcome. And please welcome the Honorable President of Indonesian Association for Public Administration, Professor Dr. Agus Pramusinto, M.B.A, already have joined the Zoom meeting. Has outlined his page.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would also like to greet the Honorable Director of NIPA-School of Administration, Jakarta, Professor Dr. Nurliah Nurdin, M.A.
Please welcome.
Welcome, Ms.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ICoGPASS 2022. Firstly, we would like to make sure that every participant has assigned the attendance list in the registration desk located in front of this room. For all the presenters, we also remind you to check your goodie bag to make sure that you have coupons for your lunch. And please note that participants have already received name tags, souvenir, and information of the presentation room. Before we begin this conference, we would like to introduce ourselves. Hello, my name is Nadia Putri Joshua.
And hello, my name is Haninditya Putri Maludin.
We will be the master of ceremony of today's event. Before we start the conference, there are several rules for all participants. First, all online participants can stream this conference through Zoom meeting or YouTube account of Polytechnic STI Alan Jakarta. Second, all participants on the Zoom meeting, please mute your speaker during the event. Third, all participants that attend offline, please mute your device during the event. Fourth, online participants can ask questions to the panel speakers through chat on Zoom or YouTube by mentioning your name, affiliation, then your question. Please keep it short and precise. Fifth, the question should be written in English. Six, for all the participants that attend in this room, you may ask your question in English. Seventh, a link of attendance form will be available for all participants by the end of the first session. Eight, for safety measures during this online conference, please sit in a comfortable place, ensure your safety of your electronic device, and ensure your internet connection. 9, for your information, we have souvenirs for the participant who took a picture or pictured the moment during the event. You can upload in your social media and tag us at Politeknik STI Alan JKT and ICoGPASS.
And there are also safety procedures during the event. You are now in the second floor of Makarti Bhakti Nagari building. We would like to let you know that there are two main doors in the left and the right of the stage. There is also an emergency door behind the stage. Restrooms are available in the left and the right side. When in emergency, please exit and go to the main floor by stairs and not use the lift. When there is a fire, hold your breath and go to the main floor, and please do not panic. Avoid the glass windows if there is an earthquake and take cover under the table. Avoid using heels when running down the stairs and gather in the assembling point in the main floor. Ladies and gentlemen, the conference will start in 5 minutes. Please be seated and mute your speaker and devices. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Administrative and Bureaucratic Reform, Mr. Abdullah Azwar Anas M.Si, the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, B.B.A, M.B.A, the Honorable Head of the National Institute of Public Administration, Dr. Adi Suryanto M.Si, the Honorable President of Indonesian Association for Public Administration, Professor Agus Pramusinto M.B.A, the Honorable Director of NIPA-School of Administration Jakarta, Professor Dr. Nurliah Nurdin M.A, the Honorable Deputy of Policy Study and Public Administration Innovation, Dr. Triwidodo Wahyu Utomo, the Honorable High Official of National Institute of Public Administration that attend offline and offline. The Honorable Directors and Vice Directors of NIPA-School of Administration Bandung and Makassar. The Honorable Representative of University Partners, Universitas Diponegoro, Universitas Airlangga, Universitas Katolik Parahyangan, Universitas Ngurah Rai, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Udayana, also NIPA-School of Administration Bandung and Makassar. The honorable speakers, first speaker, Dr. Kurt Thurmaier, Northern Illinois University, USA. Second speaker, Dr. Adi Suryanto, M.Si, Head of the National Institute of Public Administration. Third speakers, Professor Paula Schommer, State University of Catarina, Brazil. Fourth speaker, Dr. Raed bin Shams, IAPA, Bahrain. And the last speaker, Dr. Hoon and Hansei University, South Korea. Also, all participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Shalom, Om
Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya.
We are delighted to welcome you to the 4th International Conference on Governance, Public Administration, and Social Science, ICoGPASS. Today, 16th of November 2022.
NIPA-School of Administration Jakarta campus has the honor to present this annual conference with the main topic, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Digital Governance and Development Policy, Human Resource Management, and Public Sector Economics to support Indonesia's recovery. The conference aims to establish international scholars and academic community in contributing to the achievements of scientific studies and forum in the field of governance, public administration, development, and other social science with a different background that able to provide policy input in overcoming issues of inclusiveness, accountability, sustainability, and digitalization to support Indonesia's recovery in public sector, digital governance, and human resource management. The conference is divided into 2 main sessions with the complete agenda as follows. First, singing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Second, a group prayer. Third, a traditional dance performance. Fourth, the opening speech by the Minister of Administrative and Bureaucratic Reform of the Republic of Indonesia. Fifth, the opening remarks by the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of Republic of Indonesia. Sixth, the welcome speech by the President of Indonesian Association of Public Administration. Seventh, the keynote and panel speech led by our moderator. And eighth, after the end of the first session, the conference will continue to the second session, which is the presentation by all selected presenters.
For a moment, we would like to invite you to rise and sing Indonesian anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please sit it again on your chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second agenda of this conference is a prayer, which will be led by Mr. Izul Fachureza. To Mr. Izul, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear honorable speakers and attendees, let us bend our head and our heart down for a moment, praying to Almighty God, so that our international conference can run smoothly today. May I ask your permission before that I would conduct this prayer based on the Islam teaching. And for all of the audiences who are not Muslims, would I please ask your permission to carry on the prayer according to each of your beliefs. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh Allah, today, Wednesday, 16 November of 2022, we gather here to conduct the International Conference of Governance, Public Administration, and Social Sciences with the theme Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Digital Governance in Development Policy, Human Resource Management, and Public Sector Economics to support Indonesia's recovery. Oh Allah, help us to make this conference as well as the G20 summit meeting that is still being held today so that it will be carried out without any serious obstacles and interferences. Bring your blessing and your grace to our presentations, our studies, make them useful for all of us, for all of the scholars, all of the researchers, and the humanity. Oh Allah, guide us to your right path. Help us to lift each other and empower us to build a better education for all of our students in preparing the best leaders for our best futures. Oh Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our doa. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon you.
Thank you, Mr. Izu. Now, we would like to explain a little bit about Indonesian culture. Indonesia is rich of cultural heritage like clothes, traditional foods, and traditional bands. Like what we're wearing now, I am wearing from the Balinese clothes, like a kebaya and batik skirt. And you?
I am also wearing kebaya, but this is from Javanese. It's called kutu baru with the batik underneath. This is usually wear and a habit of the Gaba female long time ago. So now not only clothes, but also performances, especially in dances. So next we are going to see the performance of Tari Saman from NIPA-School of Administration, Jakarta. The Saman dance is part of the cultural heritage of Gayo people of Aceh in province in Sumatra. The leader sits in the middle of the row, singing the verses mostly in the Gayo language. Dancers clap their hands, slap their chests, thighs on the ground, click their fingers, sway and twist their bodies, heads in time with the shifting rhythm, in unison of alternating with the move of opposing dancers. The Saman dance is usually performed in the national and religious holidays, cementing relationship between village groups who invite each other for performances. So now we present to you Tari Saman Ratu Jaro.
Salam alaikum. Kamu ucapkan ke Bandung merakan jameban teka. Assalamualaikum po intan buleun lun mubri salem kewarelingka kejame teka karena salim nabikeun sunah jarota mumat syarat mulia. Assalamualaikum. Allah hai karena salam nabikeun sunat jarota mumat tanda mulia hai mulia ware ranu lampuan mulia rakan mame suara. Allah hai karena salam nabikeun sunat jarota mumat tanda mulia ware ranu lampuan mulia rakan mame suara. Hai dengalun kisah nasabo kabaran bayun terebang kadidong cong jempa. Hai dengalun kisah nasabo kabaran bayun terebang didong cong jempa. Hoka adelun hoka hai pubut di sina nerakan bola bohate. Allah hoka adelun hoka hai pubut di sina nerakan bola bohate. Amin Allah summa amin. Allah berkaramat, Allah yang beri. Amin amin Allah summa amin. Allah berkat rahmat, Allah yang beri. Allah putih ngonjang dot kunang mise hatam tacung beti kamu lamu salah putih ngonjang dot hai kunengon langon mise. Panajan tate umuka tuha putih ngon janggut kuning ngon langon mise hatam tacung beti kamu lamu salah putih ngon janggut kuning ngon mise. Are pula Pinang di beda gelombang 7. Allah ilillah opasi doi di tatare pukat gata bak di lona bakaja hai putih tulung lon di dalam jirat mantang teingan gona gata. Tiwa ponang ro bule ji putih pot side di Aceh Jaya lampan Pancasila hai kalu metule bule melape burung Garuda. Ila od arun mapulo berahawa dua rakan kayo jalo kata orang di luar. Ya Allah ingat wahai orakan kebudayaan begata jaga hai begata jaga kebudayaan beret dalam budaya luar. Illa ot arun mapula perahawa dua bekajak abeh nang dro budaya jaga. Hate mah haiku timang payung kemang bohate mah lamdonya haidonya puja ke Tuhan orangan malam besa kai lupang haiku tite hate mah haiku tite ku timang payung kemang bohate mah. Sep o benyanka uronya sep o benyanka sep o benyanka uronya sep o benyanka sep o benyanka uronya sep o benyanka.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to listen to the opening speech by the Minister of Administrative and Bureaucratic Reform, Mr. Azwar Anas M.Si.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua, Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Saya mengucapkan selamat atas penyelenggaraan konferensi ini. Sebuah konferensi yang relevan dalam upaya kita bersama untuk bangkit dari dampak pandemi melalui digitalisasi birokrasi, manajemen sumber daya manusia yang baik, dan pengembangan berbagai program pemulihan ekonomi. Saya menyampaikan permohonan maaf tidak dapat menghadiri acara langsung konferensi ini. Apa yang diangkat sebagai tema dalam konferensi ini sangat terkait dengan upaya kita untuk bangkit dari pandemi COVID-19. Momen ini juga bertepatan dengan peran Indonesia sebagai pemegang presidensi G20. Sebuah kepercayaan luar biasa dari dunia kepada Indonesia di tengah situasi geopolitik yang dinamis. Presidensi G20 dan kesuksesan G20 sekaligus juga menjadi bukti resiliensi ekonomi Indonesia terhadap krisis. Di bawah kepemimpinan Presiden Joko Widodo, kami di Indonesia optimis menatap masa depan dengan keyakinan ekonomi Indonesia akan terus berkembang dan bakal menjadi 4 besar ekonomi dunia bersama Tiongkok, India, dan Amerika Serikat pada tahun 2050. Untuk mencapai kondisi tersebut, reformasi birokrasi menjadi salah satu prioritas Presiden Joko Widodo. Reformasi birokrasi yang berdampak nyata kepada pelayanan publik yang excellent, termasuk di dalamnya terkait dengan peningkatan investasi sebagai jangkar pemulihan ekonomi di masa pandemi COVID-19. Pada saat bersamaan, pemerintah Indonesia saat ini mencanangkan reformasi birokrasi tematik bidang pengentasan kemiskinan. Kemudian Indonesia juga melakukan pembenahan tata kelola birokrasi dan reformasi struktural atas berbagai program pengentasan kemiskinan. Dengan target mencapai 0% kemiskinan ekstrim pada tahun 2024. Upaya reformasi birokrasi yang sedang dijalankan di Indonesia ini tentu membutuhkan kontribusi berbagai pihak, termasuk para pakar, akademisi, dan praktisi yang hadir dalam konferensi. Semoga kegiatan ini akan banyak manfaatnya, terutama dalam upaya mendorong reformasi birokrasi terkait dengan pengembangan SDM, digitalisasi birokrasi, dan berbagai instrumen lain dalam rangka mendorong pelayanan publik yang jauh lebih baik agar kita segera bangkit akibat dari pandemi COVID-19. Terima kasih, selamat kepada STLan atas digelarnya konferensi internasional ini. Insya Allah manfaatnya akan sangat banyak buat kita dan untuk bangsa dan negara. Terima kasih. Wallahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan.
And now we are going to listen to the opening remarks by the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, B.B.A, M.B.A.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Warmest greetings to you all. As we know, the growth of digital data and technology is rapidly changing the economic and social patterns of people around the world. This development requires us to be more competitive, transparent, fast, precise, and have high standards to be able to compete, as it has potentials to change analog works into real-time digital and cross-border. The applications of digital governance can be a force for digital transformations in public services, especially in education, health, and sustainable development sector, so it can accelerate Indonesia's economic recovery. Therefore, the applications of digital governance becomes very important and urgent to understand and implement. I would like to express my appreciations for this conference and wish for this conference a great success. I hope this conference can provide insight and innovations to support digital governance and accelerate Indonesia's economic recovery. I thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wonderful Indonesia.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to listen to the welcoming speech by the President of Indonesian Association for Public Administration, Professor Dr. Agus Pramusinto. Please welcome Professor Agus Pramusinto.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
The Honorable Minister of Administrative Reform, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Chairman of National Institute of Public Administration, all international speakers, all participants, and ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning. First of all, allow me to thank all of you for attending our event, the 4th International Conference on Governance, Public Administration, and Social Science 2022. Welcome to NIPA-School of Administration, Jakarta. On behalf of the Indonesian Association for Public Administration, I hope that this event will be very successful. The theme, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Digital Governance and Development Policy, Human Resource Management, and Public Sector Economics to support Indonesia's recovery is very relevant to the dynamics of life that we are facing amidst the post-COVID-19 pandemic situation. As Gautam Kamra from McKinsey says, prioritizing innovation and harnessing digital technologies is key, not only to the global public health response to COVID, but to unlocking post-crisis growth. It means that since COVID-19 era, we are now in the phase of post-pandemic, which needs many adjustment and transformation to cope with the needs of ever-changing society. My humble respect for the Minister of Administrative and Bureaucratic Reform, Mr. Abdullah Azwar M.Si, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, B.B.A, M.B.A, and the head of the National Institute of Public Administration, Dr. Suryanto, M.Si. Thank you very much for supporting this international conference. For this conference, we thank the speakers, Professor Paula Schommer from State University of Santa Catarina, Brazil, Dr. Hoon from Hansei University, South Korea, and Dr. Ben Shams from the National Institute of Administrative Sciences, IAPA, Bahrain, and Dr. Thurmaier from Northern Illinois University, United States of America. And of course, to Director of NIPA, NIPA-School of Administration, Jakarta, Professor Dr. Nurliah Nurdin, M.A. Thank you very much for enlightening us with brilliant ideas and thoughts. Hopefully, this conference provides an opportunity for us to share new knowledge. We hope that today's conference will continue with various collaborations related to research, publication, and other academic activities. I would express my deepest gratitude to all committees who have worked very hard to prepare this event. Appreciation should be given to all of you for your energy and time dedicated to the success of this conference. Thank you for your attention. I wish you a happy conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Agus Pramusinto, for the welcoming speech. Since that Professor Agus Pramusinto has another event to attend, we would like to invite Professor Agus, Dr. An, and Professor Nurliah to come to the stage to receive a certificate and have a photo session together. Please. Okay. And then for all the speakers on Zoom meeting, we would like to ask you for a group picture as well. Please, Dr. Kurt, Professor Paula, Dr. Raid, and Dr. Adi Suryanto to turn on your camera and give your best expression. Again, to Dr. Kurt, Professor Paula, Dr. Raid, dan Dr. Adi Suryanto to turn on your camera. Okay, thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And to the participant in the Zoom meeting, you may join the photo session with all the speakers. Thank you. And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, which is the plenary session, which will get more knowledge and insight about digital governance and development policy, human resource management, public sector economics from many perspectives of many countries. So the next agenda is plenary session, which is led by our moderator, Professor Dr. Nurliah Nurdin, M.A. Please welcome Professor Dr. Nurliah Nurdin, M.A. to lead the session.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's really a pleasure and honor for me to be here after planning for 1 year. This is the fourth of conference we have, ICoGPASS. And what is special about today that we have a different speakers with this amazing from Brazil, from US, from South Korea, from Bahrain. And we wish every of the speakers currently with us. But now we have Professor Younghan to be with us. I think I'll be happy to be accompanied. Professor, if the seat is empty, come over. Professor Yang would like to be with us and fly over from South Korea. Thank you. Thank you for flying with us. Inshallah, we wish every of our speaker by next year will join us direct with us. Okay, we have 368 authors registrations. This amount of numbers, and after selecting papers, we ended up to around 210 papers to be presented, both direct in this room, and then we will divide it to different rooms in our campus in Polytechnic Stialan Jakarta, and then also online presentations. We have also opened the session by YouTube. So everyone who join us cannot be here, can join the session by YouTube. So our conference is a blended conference. Everyone is invited for this really a great moment to have these speakers. Today, as we understand, the theme of our conference is Recover Together, Recover Stronger. This is the moment when international delegations, countries, head of countries currently in Bali for G20 summit meeting. And at the same day, we are now in this room to enlighten ourselves, enlighten our environments with the digital governance in development policy, human resource management and public sector's economics to support Indonesia's recovery. I actually have a papers just a few minutes ago, and Professor Yang say, we're talking about digitalization, why you take a paper with you? So I dismiss my paper and use my gadget. Okay, we currently would like to hear directly from our first speaker, Professor Dr. Thurmaier. As we understand right now is 9, which is 9 p.m., 9 at night. Professor Kut there. It's about time to get rest actually. Thank you very much, Professor Kut, for staying with us. And he's from Northern Illinois University, my campus that gave me international environment for 2 years. Let me introduce a little bit about Professor Thurmaier. He's a distinguished engagement professor and chair of Department of Public Administration, School of Public and Global Affairs from Northern Illinois University, and currently holds role as the chair of Departments of Public Administration in Northern Illinois University. He's also a Fulbrighter. He's a recipient of Donald Stone Scholars, so many publications already, and you can access for sure in books and publications. His majors in comparative public administration, public budgeting and finance, and international and intergovernmental relations. In the next 15 minutes, Professor Thurmaier will be delivering with us, and time is yours, professors. 15 minutes. Thank you. Let's give us applause to Professor Thurmaier.
All right, hello, and thank you for this invitation, the opportunity to present some research on participatory budgeting in Kenya, followed by some ways in which Canadian and US and Australian cities are engaging with residents in digital governance for participatory budgeting. So I want to start out by thinking about the ways in which this works, and partly we want to think about the context for this participation. We have fiscal devolution to local governments. It's really important because you have to have some degree of discretionary revenues and expenditures for local governments if you want to have citizens engaged in the everyday life and the things that matter to them. Councils and mayors have to be able to decide about revenues and expenditures in order to have governance to have a meaningful impact at the local level. In addition, you also want to think about governance is beyond government. And so we want to think about activities that engage citizens so that they can participate and influence in government decisions, and think about the types and levels of public services delivered by their local governments. And so in this way, you have a kind of a nexus between the fiscal devolution, the opportunity, the context to engage at the local level, and the tools we need to get citizens to be part of how this works. One of the famous ways to think about this is called Arnstein's ladder of participation. Professor Arnstein was publishing back in 1969, and she was a sociologist focused on how to get more residents involved in public housing and urban development programs. So the International Association of Public Participation, otherwise known as IAP2, is an international association of members who seek to promote and improve the practice of public participation in relation to individuals, governments, institutions, other entities that affect the public interest in nations throughout the world. So one of the things you can notice is there are correspondence between Arnstein's ladder and the IAP2 spectrum of participation. The lowest levels are what Arnstein calls tokenism. In other words, it's just it's just symbolic. It doesn't mean anything. And that's informing people about what you do. Okay, that's good for transparency in a sense, but it's not engagement. It's not in any way more than just informing people of what you're doing. Consulting isn't much better. So, you ask people to show up at a public hearing and they get 3 minutes to explain how they feel about how you're developing a new area of practice or how you should change tourism or whatever it is. So it's kind of, okay, we let you speak. Now we'll move on to where we want to be. The next two levels are really much better, involving citizens in a partnership. Here's where you would have meetings of citizens, and those citizens would be able to give your feedback, maybe looking at different drawings and saying they like this one better than that one, and so on. And what you say there is, thank you for sharing your opinion, and we'll make sure we pay attention to it. Higher level is where you actually collaborate with citizens, and citizens are engaged, and you give them an assignment. We want you to do X, Y, and Z. Give us this feedback. Tell us about your ideas here. How about creating some measures of performance for our organization? If we wanted to measure police performance, how would we measure that? If we measured tourism performance, how would that be? And then you've created a partnership that's really delegated with power. The last highest level is when you actually empower citizens, where you say, if you guys create this, we're going to do that. So the citizens are actually much more in control of what's going on. So we, my colleague and I, Dr. Franklin Muthomi, have been interested in Kenya's county budgeting. In 2010, Kenya created a brand new constitution where there's a constitutional right for citizens to participate in local and national budgeting and planning. And it's quite revolutionary. And so all these local governments, these county governments are going through these motions. And the question is, do citizens actually think that they're making an impact? Are they at the bottom level of Arnstein's ladder, or are they at the top where they feel empowered to actually influence the decisions? So when we look at this, we also thought we could think about this in the larger context of what does engaged budgeting and participatory transparency have to say about this? So going from right side to the left side, if you want meaningful participation where citizens' priorities are actually funded, where they're willing to pay for services because they believe they have services that reflect what they want for a price they're willing to pay, then you have to think about what's the role of citizens in their ability to participate in prioritizing projects, which means that government has a role, which is to provide reliable and understandable information. Going through the top, they have to enhance access to participation through transparency of information. You have to give people the information that's actually used in making decisions. So if the bureaucracy is the only group that has the information that really matters, that's not going to help citizens. Citizens have to have access to the same information. They have to know what things ought to cost. They ought to be able to see what the design is, how much was spent last year, and so on. Government also has a role on the bottom side of reducing the obstacles to participation. So having meetings and engagement where citizens are, not making them come to the government, but having the government go to the people to engage with them where they are so they can make a difference in what they think about things. So what we did was look at 4 counties in Kenya, and 3 of them were in the west, more kind of rural, and then one was near Nairobi, the one in red. And what we wanted to do was talk to citizens. We had 15 focus groups in 4 different counties, and a mix of men and women and different roles in life and so on. And what we did was compare how this all worked. And one of the most important findings that's worth talking about here is that when you want people to participate, that access, making it easy to get people to participate, we found that they were very effective in social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, advertising, engagement sessions, engagement meetings. Also radio. Radio is very important. radio was broadcast in the village language, not necessarily Swahili, not necessarily English, but the village language. This empowers people at the lowest levels of education, often the lowest income folks, to be able to know what's going on and to know that they're invited to participate. Finally, drop down a couple rows and you see county officials and ward administrators. And you can see that that ranks third. These are government officials who actually went out of their way to invite through SMS, through their own Facebook pages, by announcing and going to meetings, inviting people, encouraging people to participate, letting them know that what they wanted to say was actually going to be listened to because they cared. What we found was a big divide. In Makueni County, the one that was in red, that really is near the top of the Arnstein ladder. They had open access to expenditures from previous budgets, project status on these building a bridge or rebuilding a road. They had high levels of engagement, very transparent process. Citizens actually prioritized projects and were able to debate that. And they had very high levels of satisfaction with citizen participation. They felt that their time spent was actually worthwhile. The other three counties, on the other hand, lacked access to the information. They couldn't get expenditure data from the previous budget of the county. So they had no idea whether they were spending too much or too little on the hospital or on the clinic or on the police station. They had project management committees that couldn't get information on the projects. So the priorities were all left to opaque processes and elites. They were very dissatisfied with the process. And therefore, they had a lot of skepticism about levels of corruption that were probably part of the process. At least that was their thinking. So let's look at a third way of this nexus. How could digital governance enhance what's going on? And how can that be a part of the solution to engage citizens with more information, making information more easily available? And what I want to do is show you a new simulation software, and it's called Balancing Act. And this is a system that's focused on local government level, and it's very good at helping people figure out what they might want to do to change the basis for budgeting. So I'm going to try and share my screen here with a change. Let's see if this works. So can you see my new budget?
Good, Professor. Go on.
Okay, so in this system, now this is Edmonton, Alberta in Canada. And what they wanted was, this is their 2022 budget. You can see it's balanced. They asked citizens to decide whether this was the correct way to spend money. So somebody might, for example, think they should spend more money on community recreation. So they say, well, I think we should spend more money that way. But now you can see that the budget is in deficit, right? It's $7.2 million in the red. So now they have a choice. Maybe one of the things they have to do is cut service. So they have to reduce something else, or they have to actually, for example, raise taxes. So they can't just cut something. They can't just add something. They want a balanced budget. Here's a different look at what happens after you have people do this. You can, as the city manager, as the faculty, as the staff, you can see how people decrease some things, like capital projects were decreased, but recreation was increased. Public safety was decreased. You can also see down below that how much on average people submitted for changing things up and down and so on. You can see what were the most important issues, and it's very, very powerful for understanding what citizens think. In Indonesia in particular, as you're thinking about development projects, there's lots of choices, lots of ways that you could spend money on different initiatives. The city of Denver is using Balancing Act in a little bit different way called priorities. There are a whole list of projects, and the city says, we're going to spend $1 million on the things that citizens think are most important. Remember, this is empowering citizens. At the top of Arnstein's ladder, it says, if you tell us, this is what we're going to do. So here, what they said was, here are the different projects. They have a nice picture. They have a little description. And you get to spend $1 million. And so I select having showers for homeless people and having a drinking fountain, and then doing more for parks. But it gets better because then I scroll to the bottom and you can see that I have in this area here, I have 3 projects that I picked. But what if I think that drinking fountains is more important than the trailers that I drag and drop, or I think the trailers are more important? So what I can do is rearrange and show them my highest priorities. And last, this is Sutherland, Australia, and they're using this balancing act to figure out what their housing plan should be. How can they develop affordable housing? And here are all the different types of housing that are allowed in their community. And what your goal as a citizen is to figure out how to build 1,000 homes. So you say, okay, well, let's do single family dwellings. And you start cranking away, but oh, wait, if you get to more than 30, it says there's not enough space for those. We can only build 30 of those houses. Okay, so now I can say, well, what about villas and townhomes? And then I add more homes. But if I really want to add affordable housing, I can go to buildings that have more density. And now when I create homes, I'm able to add them a lot faster by building more apartment buildings until I get to the number of homes that I need. So I want to get back to this balancing act here. Now, the things that I want you to kind of take away here are kind of a checklist for whether your local government is ready for engaged budgeting. Do you provide open access to expenditures and capital project status? Do you have high levels of engagement that's very transparent? So you have regular engagement sessions, not one a year, but regular engagement sessions. Do you connect these results with your capital improvement plans and show how the engagement actually matters in the projects that are developed? Do you invite citizens into the prioritization process at the DESA level, at the sub-district, at the quota, at the provincial level? Do you invite citizens at the beginning? Do you invite citizens at the end so that they are involved through the whole process, not just at the end when decisions have been made? You can use online budget simulations to get a lot of citizens involved in these budget trade-offs in all these kinds of different ways. And this is only one type of digital software simulations that you might be able to take advantage of. Engagement matters for the short term because you can get fast feedback on budgetary trade-offs, council priorities, the capital projects, housing plans, and so on. But more importantly, engagement matters for the long term. Multiple modes of engagement lead to creating a culture of resident participation, not just among residents, but among government staff. Not just among government staff, but also among residents. They feed on each other. And that's a very powerful way to think about things. So you can hold small meetings at the village level. You can hold meetings that really get everybody engaged. But today, with digital governance, you can also use another tool, which is to use online simulations that could really provide a lot of very interesting, useful information for you as government officials. With that, I will stop my share. Thank you very much.
Let's give applause to Professor Thurmaier. It's a really important issue. Developing countries struggle for how to get the Human Development Index higher, which is concerned about economy, education, health issue. But developed countries concern more than that, concern about index of happiness. And how do they get there? People concerned about budget transparency, budget engagement. Let me summarize a little of Professor Thurmaier, what he just shared with us, and then later on, participants could make questions. This is really important issue. The title of Professor Kut is Participatory Transparency and Engagement Digital Governments to Support Indonesian Recovery. Digital governments for local governments has two important antecedents, including Indonesia. So every country has these problems, but he mentioned two important ingredients, antecedents. First, is fiscal devolution to local governments. I think my PhD students, all PhD students, master degree students will interest on this issue, fiscal devolution to local governance, and this is something that probably we miss, citizen engagement and participations. There's a checklist that been shown whether people could see where's the money goes, where's the budget goes for people. So the government cannot decide the public policy and the money goes without the concerns of the people. That's the main issue that a professor could share with us. So participation and transparency are two pillars of good governance. Let's make a question. Do we have that? With previous studies in Kenya, so there's a study case. In conclusion, the interaction of fiscal devolution, citizens engagement, and digital governance with a look at a remarkable simulation software that is spreading from US local governments to Canada and Australia, and possible Kenya, and even maybe also Indonesia. Again, let's give applause for this really important sharing. Now we're going to next speakers. We're going to present Dr. Adi Suryanto. He is our lecturer in Polytechnic Selan Jakarta, as well as also the chairman of National Institute of Public Administration Indonesia. Unfortunately, he will share a video with us because he's currently also with a program with vice presidents, because you know that all the higher level ranks of governments now have in business with G20. Let us hear Dr. Adi Suryanto sharing with us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My peace, mercy, and blessing of Allah be upon you. Praise be Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. For Him we are blessed to attend this enlightening event. My humble respect for Honorable Speaker and partner, His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Azwar Anas, Minister of Administrative and Bureaucracy Reform, Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Sandiaga Uno, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Dr. Agus Pramusinto, President-elect of Indonesian Association for Public Administration, IAPA, Professor Paula Schommer, Professor of Public Administration at the State University of Santa Catarina, Brazil, Dr. Yong Hon An, Chief Director of Public Policy Future Institute in Hansei University, Seoul, South Korea. Dr. Raid Mohammed bin Sams, President of International Institute of Administrative Science, Bahrain. Dr. Thurmaier, Distinguished Engagement Professor, Director School of Public and Global Affairs, Northern Illinois University, and Professor Dr. Nurliah Nurdin, Director of NIPA-School of Administration, Jakarta campus, and also all audience and participants. Thank you for the attendance and enthusiasm. My dear colleagues, professor, lecturer, researchers, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of National Institute of Public Administration, Republic of Indonesia, and NIPA-School of Administration, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and welcome you to the 4th International Conference on Governance, Public Administration, and Social Science, we call ICoGPASS. Under the theme of the conference, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Digital Governance in Development Policy, Human Resource Management, and Public Sector Economics to support Indonesia recovery. This conference is organized by NIPA School of Administration, Jakarta campus, in collaboration with Indonesian Association for Public Administration, and other university partners. It is my hope that the fourth ICoGPASS 2022 will be able to achieve its objective in providing an effective forum for academia, researchers, and practitioners to advancing knowledge, research, and technology for humanity. On this occasion, let me convey my talk that relevant with conference theme, where the
Connection, please. This is something we have prepared actually. When we have blended, we have to be ready with these situations. Committee, can we have a help?
There are 3 points to the digitalization of to advancing knowledge, research, and technology for humanity. On this occasion, let me convey my talk that relevant with conference theme, where the title Digitalization and Connectivity, Multi-Sectoral Collaboration under Indonesia G20 Presidency. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the transformation of digital ecosystem and economies. After COVID-19 hits in 2020, with people staying home and business losing walk-in customer, the shift to digital become even more important. The data from McKinsey and Company that you are currently viewing show the average share of customer interaction that are digital. The phenomenon on all continents show that the average digital interaction experienced a significant increase when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Along with this, to deliver a better public service in the difficult time, governments around the world are being forced to adapt to the digitalization of business processes. G20 members recognize advance in IT by establishing the Digital Economic Task Force in 2016. The Digital Economic Working Group continues the fruitful work of the previous task force to highlight the need to promote international cooperation for inclusive digital transformation. A more empowering, sustainable, flexible, and innovation focus will contribute to COVID-19 and help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the transformation of the digital ecosystem and the digital economy. There is also persistent challenges, especially regarding the digital divide, prevent all members of society from enjoying the benefit to the digital economy. There are 3 issues of Digital Economy Working Group. The first is connectivity and post-COVID recovery. Second is the digital skill and digital literacy. Third, data free flow with trust and cross-border data flow. Digital identity is often reduced to technology and software engineering issues. A variety of services sometimes are only available to those who have access. If you cannot do that, you may even be banned from basic services. Digital identity support accountability for all sensitive transactions in the digital world involving natural natural of a legal person. Reliable and robust digital identities therefore provide greater security, efficiency, and productivity across industry, simplifying the lives and well-being of citizen and business. In digital identity, government play an important role. It is regardless of the diversity of digital identity solution across country, or whether they provide access to a public or private sector services. This includes providing the foundation of the public identity infrastructure and coordinating or providing digital identity solution. However, the design of implementation of the digital identification system minimizing any potential harm while creating conditions from the actively participate in social and economic activities. Dear speaker, colleague, and all participants, from the point at the beginning, there are several things that we can highlight that digitizing public service is important to do, where there were instruction on mobilization and a ban on holding face-to-face meeting. Digitization will need to be supported by adequate resources so it can be distributed evenly. The current obstacle is that many areas, especially in Indonesia, have not yet been reached by access to the internet and electricity. Silo mentality in the bureaucracy needs to be minimized because digitization requires access to data between ministers to small government units at the local level so that service can be done properly. What can we do? We offer a multi-sectoral collaboration to enhance the connectivity that align with Indonesia's G20 presidency. A reliable and portable digital identity is essential for the functioning of the digital economic and governance. Cooperation and coordination among all stakeholders is essential. For a perfectly good reason, countries may have taken different approach to provide digital identities. In any case, an important consideration remains the partnership between the public and private sector to ensure a sustainable approach that enables citizens and business to access digital identities wherever and whenever they want to use. It is important to services that have regulation requirement for user identity verification. Government can play an important role in this conversation, such as understanding to actors involved and collaborating across sector, developing mechanisms for oversight and enforcement, engaging in bilateral and multilateral cooperation. Cross-sector partnerships are needed, as we need to encourage public-private partnership that leverage the expertise and specific perspectives of multiple parties. Cross-sector partnership involve a variety of stakeholders such as government, the private sector, academia, and practitioners, so that policies and programs are targeted at vulnerable groups can find resonance and get more support in their implementation. Integrate all available resources by integrating local availability. For example, school, libraries, association, digital animation, sport, etc., radio, television, and web. We also promote a whole of government approach in the designing, implementing, and evaluating policies. Collaboration with all levels in government and locally placed agencies reduce the risk of fragmentation and redundancy. Whole of government approach is included in the following endeavors. First, integrating service delivery, the process of unifying service delivery to the public. The second, government coordination and collaboration, which collaborators in achieving common goals. Third, integrating and rebalancing governance, political control, and administrative autonomy. And the last is culture change, concept of social glue, and strengthening organizational culture. The digital revolution offers industries the promise of a more efficient, productive, and sustainable future. Effectively integrated digitalization and sustainability drive deeper, broad change when they are aligned. To support sustainability, digital governance needs to promote initiatives that stimulate social and digital inclusion based on sustainable model and that do not depend exclusively on government. Dear speakers, colleagues, and all participants, as I conclude briefly, here are some conclusions that we can draw from this presentation session, namely, digital connectivity is an essential component in advancing our economies and societies, particularly in the context of COVID-19 recovery. It is also an important foundation in achieving each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. These global objectives aim to shape a better world for everyone by 2030. This includes a partnership between the government, public, and private sector, particularly local authorities and cities and digital connectivity providers. More widely, and reflecting the international dimension of connectivity, international partnership are proving important. Multilateral connectivity could help every government and the private sector find the right model and solution to help maximize the benefit to the society and population. ESG is an acronym for environmental, social, and governance. ESG takes the holistic view that sustainability extends beyond just environmental issues. And we need to use this to understand how every organization is managing risks and opportunities related to environmental, social, and governance criteria. Last but not least, as a think tank organization in the field of state apparatus competencies development management, policy studies, and innovation, NIPA Republic of Indonesia is committed to support the acceleration of digital governance along with other minister and state institutions to achieve an agile, world-class Indonesia bureaucracy. Thank you and sincere regard. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's give applause for Dr. Adi Suryanto, lectures of Polytechnic Jakarta, as well as chairman of National Institute of Public Administration. His major is political science, government reform, bureaucracy reforms, and also public administration, public policy, and management of civil service apparatus. What we can conclude, we can share. I understand some question already raised from YouTube, Zoom, and also participants here. Hold your question until the last participants. Let me conclude what has been said from Dr. Adi Suryanto. So the digitalization and connectivity, multi-sectoral collaboration under Indonesian G20 presidency. What is the solution then for Indonesia? It's offer multi-sectoral collaboration to enhance the connectivity that in line with the Indonesia G20 presidency, which currently in Bali. Multilateral connectivity and collaboration could help every government and the private sectors to find the right models and solutions to maximize the benefit to the society and populations towards a more sustainable future. We actually can see today in the different times. We have speakers from Brazil, from Bahrain, from United States, from Jakarta. We all get together with the digitalization and connectivity. Now, let us go to the next speakers, which is currently we are with her, with Professor Paula Schommer, 10 hours behind us. So you could imagine she stay awake around 12 o'clock at night right now. So let me introduce Professor Paula. He's the affiliation professor of public administration, University of Santa Catarina, Brazil. We actually just recently met in Rome, last June, and that's why I catch her to come over at the conference. The backgrounds, educational backgrounds, PhD in administrations, Getelio Fergus Foundations, Masters in Administration at the Federal University of Bahia, Bachelor in Administration from the University of Caxias de Sol. Expertise. So participant, since we have a collaboration in the near future with Professor Paula, let us hear the expertise. She's currently actual authors of our international journals. Public goods and services, accountability, public governance, social management, socio-territorial development, and philanthropy. Okay, another 15 minutes. Professor Paula, let's share us your thoughts and give an applause for all of us.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me being here with you, and I would like to thank especially to Professor Nurliah Nurdin for your kindness and your beautiful work, and all my colleagues in this session, and also the participants of this beautiful conference. Thank you very much for all the organizers and the colleagues behind the scenes. Well, I will share my presentation here. I guess you are seeing. As Professor Nurliah said, I am from University of Santa Catarina State University in Brazil, and I will share some ideas, some learning and questions on open government and social accountability. So it's very connected with my colleagues already mentioned. And well, let me go. Here. As we know, we are facing many global challenges, including the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic and its effects, and also the climate change and its effects. And we are trying to develop new pathways to build sustainability and better life for everyone. So today we are 8 billion people. And so we have to be able to offer good public services to all the people, to all those 8 billion in every country. So one way of doing this is sharing knowledge and learning globally and between our countries. And particularly, I would like to share with you some information about the similarities between Brazil and Indonesia. As you can see, we are almost in the same area. We have some similarities in terms of climate, weather, and also biodiversity. We are both also multicultural countries, and we have almost the same population, as we can see. And we also have, in the last decades, a lot of improvements and developments in public administration and civil society participation in open government. So we have a lot to share in terms of what we have learned in these decades. And we are also, as we can see in this chart, we have similar positions in this group of the G20. We are very close in terms of population and GDP, and also GDP per capita. And so we could share more. And as already said, at this very moment, we are having this meeting, this G20 summit, and some of the pillars for its G20 presidency, led by the Indonesian government, is about global health architecture, sustainable energy transition, and digital transformation. We already discussed. And G20 should seek to ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. And here we have this challenge of equity in public services. And the vaccines reviews express how difficult it is and how to promote sustainable and inclusive economic development, sharing prosperity among nations. So, and some ways for doing that is to further global taxation reform, stronger cooperation on fighting corruption. And here in Brazil, we have some relevant experiences in this topic. And also more democratic and representative international cooperation. So you can see that many of these topics are being discussed here today. And one of the big challenges, as I mentioned, is providing vaccines to everybody and to especially the more vulnerable people. And it's amazing because at the same time, we were able to produce new vaccines in a rapid way, involving collaboration between researchers and the private and public sector in different countries, but the logistics and the capacity to make it available to all is very challenging until today. And also we have this new phenomenon, bigger phenomenon of vaccine hesitancy, and how at the same time we have the technology to produce vaccines, but at the same time we have more disinformation and hesitancy in having the vaccines. So new kinds of challenges we have to deal with. And we had, again, Brazil and Indonesia are almost in the same level in terms of the total of cases of COVID-19. And this chart is from 5 days ago. As you can see, we had 6 million and more than 6 million deaths. And this is what we have reported to the World Health Organization. The estimative is we have 3 times this number, and we don't have all the data. So data is important, but we not always have enough clear and accurate data. And I would like to highlight too that the last 2 years were difficult years for global democracy. And again, we see similarities between Brazil and Indonesia. As you can see, Brazil, Indonesia, we are both considered flawed democracies by this index conducted by the economists. And this is another indicator used by Freedom House to evaluate freedom, democracy globally. And this is about internet freedom. Again, Brazil and Indonesia are considered partly free. So we have room to improve. And this is another example of cooperation being established at this moment. Yesterday, it was signed an agreement between Brazil, Indonesia, and Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's a strategic alliance to coordinate our efforts on conservation. The nickname is OPEC for rainforests. So we have more this important area to improve cooperation. And the UN conference on climate change, one of the aspects that is highlighted is exactly the climate action must be guided by data. So again, the relevance of data and digitalization to make it possible to deal with the big challenges of our time. And another challenge is about trust in government. This conference promoted by Transparency International last year, they selected 3 words, 3 T's: truth, trust, and transparency as challenges for us in this decade. And COVID-19 and other political crises and conflicts globally have defied our confidence or our trust in this relation between governments and citizens. And one way to deal with this is opening our governments. And again, Brazil and Indonesia, we are members, we are part of this global partnership, open government partnership. We are members since the beginning, 10 years ago, and both countries are now implementing the 5th edition of our action plan, and we are elaborating our next plan. So we are at the same level again. And in Brazil, we recently had this report published by the OECD as part of the evaluation of Brazil's candidacy for membership of the OECD. And this study mapped our trajectory of more than 30 years in terms of participation, access to information, transparency, and accountability in Brazil. And it indicates also paths to advance. So we have a lot of learning in this process, but we have ups and downs, and we have a lot to learn to promote more trust and results in this relationship between government and civil society. And Santa Catarina, in my state, I live in a state in the south of Brazil, and we are also part of OGP, a local program of OGP, and we are now concluding the implementation of our first plan of open government here, and the university is member of the coordination group of this process. So we are very much engaged in promoting and learning about opening the government here. And we are also engaged in projects of open contracting with municipalities here. And this is a project here in my state with a group of local governments and national and international partners to establish a pattern to interoperability on data on public purchasing and contracting. So it's a way to integrate the information from different municipalities, then we can compare, we can use it to make better decisions and better purchases. And as you probably know, the participatory budgeting 30 years ago was initiated here in Brazil, and the experience from Porto Alegre is a capital of a state close to where I live. And it's very famous because it became globally known as a pioneer in participatory budgeting. And this methodology, the concept, was spread first in Brazil, then in Latin America, and then all over the world with different methodologies. But here in Brazil, we had like a crisis of our tools of citizen participation, not only the participatory budgeting, but other tools that we have like a robust system for citizen participation, but we have this up and downs. And recently, Transparency International in Brazil issued 2 editions of a report of setbacks in the legal and institutional anti-corruption frameworks. So I would like to call your attention then the process of opening our governments and promoting transparency and accountability, it's not linear. We have different moments and different elements that influence the process, and sometimes we have setbacks. And so the notion of open government, here it's in Spanish, this image, but as you can see, it's a concept that involves 3 main axes: citizen participation and data, transparency, accountability, and integrity. And in another part, collaboration and innovation. So it's very much connected with what was already said by my colleagues, how we can engage people and use data to promote this engagement, and at the same time, how the engagement of citizens make us able to produce better data and to use data to really improve lives of people. And we do this to promote more innovation, and at the same time, innovation help us to improve these participation processes involving collaboration between the state, civil society, and the private sector. And this is a concept we use, and it's connected with the image Professor Kurt used. We called co-production of information and control. So we usually have the regular producers that are the oversight institutions, but we also have the users of information, of public information and control, and they can work together and co-produce information and control. And this is very close to the notion of social accountability. And this is a model we developed to understand that we have stages of the incorporation of accountability in the culture and the public sector, and in a political culture of a country. In the traditional accountability approach, we have like these checks and balances between the powers, the judiciary, the executive branch, and the parliament, and society is participating in the process, but from outside the government. In the second stage, cross-sectional accountability, you can see we have some interactions. And some moments you have interactions between who is inside the government and the society who is outside the government. In the third stage, systemic accountability, you can see the frontiers of government are open. So we have this open government, and society and public agents collaborate all the time in different projects, in different initiatives, with different mechanisms. And in the fourth stage, you see we don't have government. We have it's like a utopical model. But more than, or besides the laws, the mechanisms, and the opportunities for collaboration, I would also like to highlight the importance of people who coordinate, who promote this collaboration, who leads this collaboration. And then there is a concept we are using to understand this role of leadership, that it's about systems convening, how we can convene people to working together to find solutions for common problems, and usually in a long time perspective. And so this role of systems convener involves a mindset. And as part of this mindset, we have this determination to make a difference, the keen awareness of social landscape, social learning capability, and meaningful ways to work with people. So we as researchers, we as activists, we as public servants could work at as system convener to promote changes in areas we are acting to change things and improve public services. So this system convener has different roles. For example, choreographer, co-producer, connector, capacity builder, coach, and a community builder. And this public servant of the 21st century is at the same time a resource waiver, a storyteller, a commissioner, a broker, a networker, a navigator, and a system architect, someone who is thinking all the time, who is able to understand the system and to act experimentally and more systemically. And also the practitioners, the social accountability practitioners could be seen as system conveners, people who are sometimes outside the government, but work with the public servants to promote changes. And well, this concept of social accountability is being used by programs like the GPSA, Global Partnership for Social Accountability from the World Bank, to learn with initiatives in many countries, in many sectors, and how we engage people to improve the quality of health services, for example, or education. So it's a very applied approach of citizen engagement. And we also have many tools that can be used to engage people in designing the services they use. And almost concluding my presentation, one question that guides us is, what kind of bridges are we building? Sometimes in this first image, we don't have bridges, but we have piers. We construct our pier and we wait for partners to come to us. And the other model, we have this stepstone bridge. We work step by step, we adapt to the conditions of the environment, and we elaborate, we construct, we build our bridge. In the third image, we have like a movable bridge. Sometimes the collaboration is possible, sometimes we are not able to collaborate and we don't have this avenue for collaboration. And in the last image, we have a more stable, a more sustainable bridge, sustained by many forces, many axes. And so we have more, more capacity to work in collaboration. And to conclude, from the many cases we have been studied and engaged here in Brazil, in the local level, in the national level, and also seen to other initiatives in Latin America and Africa, for example, we see similarities and particularities among practices oriented by similar concepts. For example, open government or social accountability of co-production of information, or participatory budgeting, or open contracting. And so we can use this idea of co-production of means, co-production of information, co-production of control, and also the ends for better education, for better health, for example. And similar values, diverse and interconnected pathways and labels. And all of them are technopolitical processes. So we have this technical aspect, for example, in data and digitalization, but we also have to be aware of the political dimensions and the ethical dimensions to engage in these initiatives. In interconnected scale, sometimes we can look to a local initiative, but it's connected to a global agenda, and we can learn with different, with other places inside our country or outside our country. And there are mutual influence between this global and local level, and also the national and subnational level. We also are looking to the relationship between short-term plans or short-term initiatives and these long-term processes of change that involves culture, the institutionalization, trust, leadership, and learning. So in this long-term process, how can we see this phenomenon in different scales? And we also are looking to the viability of co-production when the political environment is conflictive, undermines trust, and does not promote collaboration and openness. So democracy is in turbulent times, especially in Brazil. We recently had elections. Now we have different perspectives, but we learned a lot in the last years, not only about possibilities, but also about the risks in this kind of initiatives. So what are the implications for research and practice in the field of these many initiatives and studies? And how can we interchange more and have more partnership opportunities between our countries? I hope this is the first step here today of a long-lasting collaboration between our institutions, our students, and our countries, because as I try to show, we have a lot of similarities. Here are some of the papers where we developed these ideas, and here you have my email, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay, let's give us applause, Professor Paula. Professor Paula, Indonesia is really fond of Brazil soccer. So we are happy not only soccer we have on TV regularly, but we have you as our speakers today.
We'll have the World Cup and the next day, so we count on you.
So let me conclude what Professor Paula, something that occurs in my head, 3T, as you probably still remember, 3T as the key, which is truth as a government, as a truth, trust and transparency. There's a really 3T that we have to keep in our mind. And the conclusion of Professor Paula's, which is global challenge pathways, is to a more sustained and better life for everyone. This is for everyone's. Also, sharing knowledge to learn globally between countries that we are doing right now. And the G20, Indonesia and Brazil also define 3 pillars, as other speakers also mentions. One is digital transformation to build sustainable future while focusing on digital innovation. To achieve this, we have recognized the need for further global taxation reforms. I think this is something also students need to learn more on global taxation reforms, stronger cooperation on fighting corruptions. We are really fighting on that, as Indonesia still number 100 more. And deeper infrastructures financing and more democratic and representative international corporations. So our audience from Zoom, I got report more than 300. There is also YouTube in our participants and who participates direct here. I really appreciate for that. I believe some countries also attend this conference, not only from Brazil, from South Korea, from America. But let me say hello to one special participant that has been the morning join us. She is ambassadors of Indonesia, which is currently in position in Cuba, Dr. Nana Yuliana in Havana. How is Havana there? Thank you for being with us. Let's give applause for her.
Yes. Good evening and congratulations for the success of the conference. Greeting from Havana, Cuba. Thank you, Professor
Thank you for
Nurliah.
joining us. Thank you. So you imagine Cuba with the old cars? That's really beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Nana. Now, let us go to the next speakers, which is currently in Riyadh. He's from Bahrain, but currently would like to perform Umroh in Riyadh. I understand, please apologize. I understand we left 20 minutes behind, but I do appreciate this moment, so I cannot care of the times. This is really a great moment to share each other. And Professor Hoon, Professor Paula, hanging there because it's midnight over there, hanging there because there's a lot of questions. We keep Professor Yang here at the letters. Let's hear Dr. Right Mohammed bin Shams. Let me introduce him for you. PhD Strategic Management and Organization Behavior at Bradford University. M.Si in Management Information Systems, Leeds University. Bachelor of Science and Instructional Computing, King Saudi University. And expertise is public administration, decision making, development studies, management, and capacity building. Our audience, keep our speakers' numbers, emails, number, contacts, because after this, we're going to have a collaboration. And if you do need research person for your thesis, for your dissertation, who's studying comparative, we are now open for this collaboration. Now let's give applause for Dr. Right Mohammed Shams.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Professor, and thanks for the invitation to join you. It's our pleasure to be there together. I've been in contact with you in Rome. I'm in the capacity of the IIS President, the International Institute of Administrative Sciences President, but at the same time, I'm also the President of the Bahrain Institute of Public Administration. Let's look at how we can learn from all what has happened. Looking at the bigger picture from all different countries, which we have already communicated, we had different conferences during the last 3 years. Actually, we haven't really stopped. We had online conferences in which we have learned a lot. And I hope that we can put some kind of summary to lots of learnings that we already had from different countries, and in particular from Bahrain. The pandemic has nearly finished. Let's put it like this. But I'm confident, we are all confident and certain that there are more to come, not just health pandemics, but also economic crisis, environment. We have the climate change, we had the droughts in Europe just recently. And with all of that, and suddenly we have the geopolitics issues, wars, and so on. It's not just the different type of crises that we have, but it's also the frequency and the speed of change that we have to adapt to. That's where the challenge really comes in. So it's not the matter of just recovering, which is part of resilience, getting up from falling down during a crisis, but also we need to think of how can we really be agile, prepared, looking for the future type of crisis, and anticipating how we can really make a difference and minimize all of the risks and problems that you might face with all the different crises. And this is, I think, where digitalization comes in. It's a tool. It's a tool to fulfill a bigger purpose. Our purpose in administration, in public administration, is to serve our citizens and to serve our nations. And this is where I think what really keeps us on our toes, when we say that we need to be resilient, we need to be agile. It's not for us, it's for the whole nations, the whole humanity that we need to really think of. And this is, I think, one of the key lessons that we've managed to learn through the period of COVID. Looking at the different stakeholders, unless there is great alignment between three key stakeholders, things cannot really be done. And this is what we have seen in Bahrain in particular, but we can really bring it up and generalize on lots of crises that comes in, and you can think it over from different perspectives. Those three elements are the leadership, societies, and technocrats. Leadership is so key in crisis management. Their determination, their firmness is so critical because they take lots of decisions, and those decisions, if they don't have them done properly and timely, then we really lose lots of sometimes lives, as we have seen during COVID-19. But they also lead and control what's really going on. Unless they have trust in their teams, listen to them carefully, then things can go hayway. But also they have to be agile and resilient. Creating and with timely taking decisions is so critical. And I said something about listening, but listening is not just, it's not one way as it is for communication. We have to have with our leaders bi-directional communication. That is so critical. And two other things, that coordination within countries, between states and so on, but also the multilateral networking is so important. That's how we see leadership during crisis. But leadership without the cooperation and real alignment with the society, either they are the top or the middle management, or the communities themselves, or even their NGOs within the countries, because those who are really representing the people working and living in the countries. But it's also the communities in general as people in different places. If they don't have confidence in their leadership and their technocrats, they are not going to adhere to whatever is going to be said. They are not going to take their decisions seriously. They are not going to take their views and their instructions and whatever they are going to say to heart. So they are not going to take it into practice. But at the same time, during crisis, usually our morals goes down. And unless the society really brings their morals up, things cannot be done. Positivity is so much very important. Their cooperations between themselves and with their leadership and technocrats, that gives them high commitment and really builds the awareness within the society. Technocrats, on the other side, those are the people specialized during any type of crisis. So when we speak about COVID-19, we speak really about the medical sector. But it depends on the crisis. If we speak about, for example, the geopolitics, then we speak about the armies, we speak about the strategic thinkers. But at the same time, there are, if I call them the silent soldiers, Let's take during COVID-19. Without ICT, the ICT specialists, without their boosting their systems, their capacities, we wouldn't have been able to really connect, nor we would have been able to even have our life sustained as it's supposed to be. Schooling, net, communication, and so on. ICT specialists, they were the silent soldiers. But also, during such type of crisis, we have seen the logistical sector getting into the game. The finance and banking regulatory authorities, they have played a huge role in making sure that people are in need getting their finances in the right time. Businesses couldn't have really sustained their viability and even not to get bankrupt without the support of the financing and the banking regulations. The private sector were again key to make sure that things are done properly. We had innovation teams, which we have already prepared before, and this is where they started to kick in and bringing their new thoughts, ideas, and using their methodologies and techniques towards this crisis. So it is a simple triangle between leadership, society, and the technocrats. And you can again take it into other crises. Let's take, for example, when there is a massive storm or anything. Who are those three? Unless we really identify them, we take the leadership at the highest level to make sure that things are in place and the society have that awareness and confidence in their leadership and technocrats. And again, the technocrats making the difference on the ground, things cannot be done. On the other side, we're looking at the dimensions of what I call it informational dimensions or semiotical dimensions of alignment. Within those groups, there has to be three key dimensions aligned: our understanding, our intentions, and our actions. If we do not communicate properly and we have issues with trust or confidence, and we cannot really see any kind of positive things happening, we are not going to work out together. We are really not going to work together. But when we speak about timely communication, it is how we really bring the communication down to the layman person jargons. It's not the matter of, lots of people do not understand what is vaccine. What is the mRNA vaccines? What types of new vaccines coming up? And unless that is really brought down to the layman person understanding, the communities are not going to cooperate. And this is where the rumors kick in and so many issues get into the picture. But when it comes also to trust, it's not just the citizens' trust in governments, but it's also governments' trust in governments. This is where the cross-border cooperation happens. If we do not trust each other as organizations within our own governments or between our own states, then there is no coordination going to happen. And the third type of trust, which is the trust of government in citizens. It's not the issue of the political side, it's the issue of administrative side. How can governments really trust? How can governments really co-produce, as my colleagues were mentioning, coordinate and co-produce together with the citizens if they don't trust them? Trusting them is not just listening to them. Trusting them means that they can really work together and produce together. And finally, usually we forget about the nature of people and that they want to see something happening on the ground. We are always trying to move fast and so on. And this is where the success after success really brings us to a point when failures happen, people would still accept what's happening. But if we have failures after failures after failures and no way of quick wins, then we have a problem. This is where the positive track record is so critical. So intentions, understandings, and actions, they need to be aligned, three of them, within those three stakeholders. And finally, decisions during crisis are different than the normal states, the normal living contexts. There are, as you can see on the right side, there are simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic situations. This is from the Harvard Business Review. And during chaotic situations, as crises are usually are, what the decision makers, it's not a matter now of consensus. It's not a matter now of taking the democracy into its real full-fledged. It's the matter of saving lives, for example, in COVID-19 or during war. So we need leaders who understand this situation with high turbulences, with unknowables, so many things, with high tensions. And this is where they need to act, sense, and respond, rather than looking at it of how can we really listen and think and let's create some kind of consensus together, because they need to, at that situation of crisis, of a chaotic situation, they need to look at what works instead of seeking the right answers, taking immediate actions, providing clear and direct communications. That's what really makes a difference. Though such type of situations create lots of risks, because there could be some kind of people around the leaders who would take advantage of such type of things, such situations or decisions. And this is where listening is so much important by leaders. But there has to be a different way of handling and leading and making decisions during crisis. We have seen how big countries have really suffered from COVID-19 because there was a gap between the citizens and the leaders. Citizens were looking at the consensus type of decisions, while leaders need to take decisions nearly immediately and act on certain issues, though they cannot really do it because the system does not really enforce it. And what happens? Lives have been lost. Huge numbers of lives have been lost. Unfortunately, this is what really happens during such type of crisis, and it's going to happen again and again and again. So if we really want to be agile, then we need to start thinking now of what type of crisis coming up, not just next, but also in the future, close future or further future, and who are the stakeholders? how can we really groom them? How can we really build them, put them into the right place, put the proper strategy for them to work immediately, hit the ground and work when crisis happens? And how can we really make sure that the systems that we have within our governments can take decisions timely and responsibly to our citizens? Thank you very much. But also, I'm just showing you over here, one of the key technology issues. This is an app that we already have developed in Bahrain. It has been done in very short time. It was done in nearly 6 weeks. But it was so important because it really covered the first-hand communication with all the citizens. It enabled traceability for those who are infected and their families, the monitoring of the quarantined infected people, vaccinations, how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, and the mobility within Bahrain and abroad. It gives them a huge flexibility because it was linked to other systems in different countries. And this is where it was really as a one-stop shop, which have really managed to get lots of things together at the same time. Without the ICT people being able to respond nearly immediately, this tool wouldn't have been possible. This tool wouldn't have been in the hands of the leaders and the technocrats to make sure that their decisions and their actions are in the right place. And it wouldn't be possible if the track record of the IGA, or the Information and Government Authority in Bahrain, didn't really have such type of things from the beginning. Since 1984, we have developed all of this together within the community. They had lots of trust and confidence into such type of applications. This is where we managed to really communicate and make sure that things are in place during COVID pandemic. Thank you very much. And I hope that I haven't really taken lots of your time. Thank you.
Let's give applause to Dr. Wright Mohammed bin Sham. Thank you. It's really great sharing. What I can quote in your sharing, Dr. Wright, and this is for all of us: no countries has prepared for this pandemic, but as I mentioned in the presentation, it's the leadership roles that is most favorable information for us. That is leadership and collaborations. May I conclude some of the presentations? Dynamic decisions during the pandemic is about choice and depend on the leaders' roles and styles in decision making. We watch some countries success, some countries fails, and it all depends on the decision making of the leaders. And the collaboration, for sure, Bahrain innovative approach to combat COVID-19 pandemic using stakeholders alignment. This has been shared. Stakeholders alignment consists of society, leadership, and technocrat. I think because this is most students here, PhD, master degree, and bachelor degree, if we learn and we write academic thesis or dissertation during this 2 years pandemic, we learn from this conference that technology make this happens to cover with COVID-19. Against the best practice in Bahrain with B.B.A application and technology enable to mastering the COVID-19. Let's again give applause for Dr. Wright Mohammed bin Sham. Dr. Wright, please also share your thought and dua for us because you're going to Umrah, yeah? But hanging there, there's a lot of questions, especially for Professor Kurt, Professor Paula. Hanging there, we will going to have question and answer, either participant who attend the conference or also online by Zoom and by YouTube. Our last speakers, we make him the last because he is here around us. Let's give applause for Professor Hoon. Yes. Yeah. Let me introduce him. PhD Public Law, Public Policy at the University of Paris. We have a Paris alumni also here. And M.A. Public Law and Public Policy at the University of Paris. M.A. Political Sociology of Paris and a B.A. National University Picardie in France. Expertise, decentralizations, strategic planning, senior officers, effective leadership, public policy performance assessments, national disasters and security management, and constitutional and administrative law. He is not new in Indonesia. He visited Indonesia many times, even worked with Bappenas and Minister of Home Affairs. So let's have 15 minutes presentation from Professor Yung Han. Time's yours.
Yep, thank you. First of all, thank you so much, and it's a great honor to be here and to be invited and before very great, excellent audience. Thank you so much, and I'll give my presentation. So, and also I thank you so much, Professor Dr. Nurdin and her team and the organization committee members. So, my presentation. No?
Yes, it's going.
Okay.
The presentation, please, show up on screen. Maybe you can start by waiting to the screens to show up.
Okay, I'm the last presenter, so I think today's buzzword is we can see two kinds. One is digital governance. Professor Kurt and Paula also mentioned with digital governance, the cooperation and co-production with the society that made us more accessible to the government activities. And the second buzzword, it's the Professor Hyde mentioned us the leadership. So if we wrap up two kinds of buzzword in our era, digital society, new leadership was very necessary for us. So today I just here introduce the platform government, because our former presenter mentioned digital governance, but for me it's a platform government strategy, Korean case, and I'll also a little bit introduce Indonesian case. Okay, please. Next. So the three part, almost the three part. The first part is the digital government in Korea. Now new president of the Republic of Korea start the strategy digital government platform system. And so we will really understand who are the main actors of the government platform. The third one is we just like a counterpart to Ministry of Home Affairs in Korea also, Ministry of the Interior and Safety plan, the master plan. So some examples, the last. Okay, next please. I show you just digital government is symbolized a smart city. So here I just introduce some site you can consult YouTube. Next please. Digital platform government, why nowadays before we said e-government or digital government, but newly we introduced the word platform. What means platform? In Korea, new president and organize the presidential committee for a new strategy in Korea, because in Korea also 20 years ago already many things are achieved in digital system. So the term platform means we know already railway platform. So it's kind of online sphere where all things produce and interact. So it's kind of, we can prolong that concept to the broader social ecosystem. In business sector, we sometimes call it enterprise architecture, EA. But in reality, the digital platform government, it's image and it's the real clouding computing and metaverse. It's based on big data system. Next. So we can see some action toolkits in digital platform government, especially we enforce industrial revolution. We almost all in the world, all people know software, IT, network, cloud, AI, or the other IoT, Internet of Things. That's all kind of action toolkit. But in these action toolkits have to be supported by the data. So data, it distinguishes today's digital platform from the preceding e-government concept. Some characteristics we see here. The platform means data collection. So in that case, we have to establish and plan the data governance policy. What means data governance policy? Data governance policy is we have to, in first phrase, you see a standardized and integrated data set. We have to serve. We find some standardized and principle framework and common to government and also business sector and municipalities. So we call it unified data set. Sometimes we need more variety of different type of data, but in platform government, we can unify it, we can composite in a coordinated way, and we can produce new kind of data and new policies. Next, please. Next, please. So integrated or unified platform government is benefit to all people, because not just government or the higher ranking officials, but also the small, medium-sized company and retailers can use, even flower retailers, if they have some data, daily data, how many people's pass in my shop. In that case, we can use that useful data for us. So ordinary people can benefit from the integrated platform government. So another thing is the personalized data service. The government also provide personalized data service. So we call it "It's My Data." For example, in Korea and in other European countries, on website, we put our permanent education hour. So, and the other thing is the welfare system or pension system, we all know, and our private banking activities also on the personalized data service. It's kind of a platform made by private bank. So the government is a service. So in Korea, the main actor is National Information Resource Service, is government integrated data center. It's located in new administrative city, and the backup system is the other city, and the third backup is the island. So we have more backup system. And here, another main tools is Onnara BPS and GOV24. GOV24, all kinds of public and official documents produced by government, we can directly get in file. And also home tax, we don't pay at bank or we don't pay tax office. We know how much we have to pay the tax. All things is online tax services, control and manage. So just online tax service is the personalized data service. So every citizen has their own account in home tax website. E-people, so it's a kind of petition to the president. If we have a 200,000 petition, the president and government have to respond. Obligation. It's the obligation. Next, please. And outside Korea, Korean government now cooperate with so many different countries. It's the Digital Government Cooperation Center, DGCC. Uzbekistan, Serbia, Tunisia, Cambodia. So I was also Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan or Senegal, the other countries, because there I installed so many digital equipment in the parliament and also in the public administration. And also you see in Indonesia, joint cooperation project start last year. So it concerns the development information strategy, because you see your personal data, to get the personal data or to be more powerful platform government in Indonesia, you have to achieve the 19 initiatives for the Indonesia digital transformation. And the Ministry of Administrative Bureaucracy Reform this year at the first semester with Korea, they organized the digital transformation seminar, and now keep going that service. Next, please. So I mentioned already for the in private sector enterprise architecture. Enterprise architecture is the same like a government platform. Okay. Next, please. Yes, in Korea, Ministry of Interior and Safety has the master plan 2021-2025, the digital government and platform government. So by implementing intelligent public service and by facilitating database government and by strengthening also the foundation of the digital transformation. Next, please. Next. So I'll skip. Next. Yes. It's the example. So we will see the COVID-19, how can we handle, how can we test and track and treat? In the world, Korea now is more the highly vaccinated rate, almost 90% of people all vaccinated. And also there, for the platform government, digital city, empowering city, and agile city, and progressive city, in 4 type of city is the kind of a smart city. So it's the government lead the kind of the platform project, but it starts already from the municipalities. So next and last, it means you see here, it's Nonsan city. Nonsan city only 200,000 residents there. The mayor's office, just a neighbor mayor's office there. It's kind of a situation room, but it's not a situation room like in central government. Central government always to manage disaster management. There's situation loom, but it's not situation loom. It's the old data, all kind of data concerning city governments. It's we can see on screen, and we have 2 screens, so we can manage with the 2 screen all kind of data. The last one. So from the integrated platform, we can so easily fix policy agenda. And the second is crisis preparedness. We can manage, and we can also prepare the disasters. It's always through big data. So we need always produce big data, standardized sometimes. It's not only government test, but people and local public officials also have to contribute their efforts to make the big data. So big data make your society accessible and transparent and more sustainable. Thank you.
Let's give applause to Professor Yang. Thank you. Our audience, our great speakers, 5 great speakers from 3 different continents already share their knowledge, their experience for us. It is the point of having international conference to share knowledge, to share experience, so we can have advanced informations. We catch from the first speakers, Professor Kut, is a budget transparency, the strong point, budget transparency that makes people's lives better. And Dr. Adi Suryanto, we have a digitalization connection to make the bureaucracies better. We have Professor Paula says social accountability and tax reform is also make a life better, because that is what the government for, to make people's lives better, right? And we have Dr. Wright is the role of leadership. This is the key point. And at the last, we have Professor Yang, who said data integrated is a lot important also to make all this government works easier to perform. Now, we have a session question and answers. I understand we are behind, it's around 30 minutes. That's fine. Actually, at the schedule, we have 75 minutes for question and answer. I'm so sorry that we cannot perform that. Now we have left around 30 minutes. We can hold our speakers from US, which is now around midnight there. And also Professor Paula, still awake, Professor Paula, still beautiful. And Dr. Wright also, Professor Yan, he's calmly here. You okay, Professor Yan? Okay. Okay, now we're gonna have a question and answer for all participants that we can answer your question. I'm sure our speakers will be open for your answer, especially for the research program. I understand you're all writing a thesis, dissertation, or academic writing. We will request our speakers to open for answering your question later on. But now let us hear the questions. Okay. This is Haris Fausens from NIPA, Republic of Indonesia. Question for Professor Thurmaier. Thank you for the insight that have been shared. The question is, what are the criteria for the high citizen engagement in participation in development projects? The second, in practice on the ground, what is the impact of citizen engagement in development performance itself? I think this question will represent a lot of questions of us. Please, Professor, good.
Right. Well, thank you for the question. I think it goes back to the slide that I showed that compared the county in Kenya that actually had transparency, that provided the information that was necessary for citizens to understand projects, to understand the language of budgeting, and the counties that did not. The county where the transparency was high, where they went out of their way to make sure that the citizens would be able to participate because of the timing of engagement sessions. They also were having them elect someone who would actually go through the process as it went from, from the village to the sub-district to the district and so on. The villagers were able to say, you're the person who's going to take our ideas all the way to the top. So they decided who was going to speak for them at the higher levels, not whoever was conveniently able to get out at 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon from leaving their shop or whatever. So when they went out of their way to make participation easy, when they provided the information that was needed, the citizens were engaged and they trusted their government, they believed in their government, they supported the taxes that went into the projects. For the counties that did not provide the information, the data about how money was actually spent, total distrust. They thought that that was all a sham. Engagement didn't matter because in the end, they didn't have the information they needed to actually have a reasonable chance of understanding or influencing, and they knew it. So there's the measures. The measures are trust in government breeds people's willingness to participate, to pay taxes, to help decide what's the priorities.
Okay, thank you, Professor Thurmaier, for the answers. And we still have questions, either from this side, you may raise your hand, one chance for you, because we have others also opportunity. Yes, raise your hands. Yes, please. Mike, please. Just one question. Please help. Please help our participants. Yes. Make it short. Yes. Yes, go ahead, please. Please help, please, committee. Yes, make a time really available. You can use mine. Okay, it's already prepared.
Yes. My name is Kemas Ahmad Fadila, and hello everyone. My question is, corruption is a disease created by greed, and we all agree on that. As this theme for this ICoGPASS this year, my question is, how could we achieve good governance and good governance in condition where corruption is still around us? Thank you.
Okay, so then to whom these questions go for?
Any speaker who
okay,
share
good.
their opinion.
Okay, this is for any speakers, please. It is about corruption. How do we combat corruption? This is a leader's role. Yes, Dr. Wright.
I think very simple. It's a big question with lots of things, but the first thing comes to my mind is when using technology, you simply cut the middleman. And usually those are the middlemen, the middle person, those who are the people who are using the system and corruption. When you use when you eliminate the middleman or middle person through the use of technology, which means that the service goes directly to the beneficiaries rather than there is someone going to take them. The technology enables that, so that you are really reducing the corruption hugely. Of course, I'm not going to speak about the other political and the other administrative, or there are lots of other things, but the first things comes to my mind speaking about digitalization.
We hold there. Is it the problem with us or with connection in Riyadh? Okay, no further ado, while waiting for the continuous, maybe Professor Paula, you have an answer for these corruption matters. How do we combat this?
Yes, well, we are like traumatized by our recent history in combating corruption here in Brazil. And I would say that it's very dangerous when we think that our main problem is corruption. I would say corruption is part of the problem, but the main problem is about how we produce better services, and inclusive services for all. And if we think, because when we put corruption in the top of our list of priorities, it's very difficult to develop trust between citizens and governments, and also to trust in politics, trust in democracy. And corruption can also be used in political disputes, to obstaculize the debate and the concrete solutions for concrete problems. So corruption is important to be recognized, to be avoided, to be prevented. And of course, sometimes when we have it, we have to investigate and punish. But if we think that everything is corruption, and sometimes we obstaculize our capacity to promote innovation, to promote collaboration, to promote trust. So we have to separate what is corruption and what is the possibilities of collaboration. It's in a more productive relationship to produce better services.
Thank you, Professor Paula. So we ended up with the technology to combat the corruption. Professor Hoon, short answer for the corruption combat.
Yeah, thank you. Mold and mildew thrives in dark places. And when sun shines on it, it dies. And it's similar with corruption. When you shine the light on expenditures so that people actually know where money was spent and who's spending it, as in Makoeni County, then people can trust their government because they actually see the problem. And also, government people are afraid that citizens won't understand. And so they'll think that they're corrupt because there's problems in project implementation. But as Professor Paula says, you build trust because you work together on something, and you have to be able to know that it's a real problem. But that comes from a culture of engagement. So my answer is governments should not be afraid to share the information that tells people, here's what we've got, here's the problem. How would you help us? What do you think we should do to solve the problem? Instead of being worried that they're gonna be kicked out of office or whatever. So sunshine, show people the data, show people the information, and you'll create a culture where it's difficult for corruption to thrive.
Thank you, Professor Kurt. So it's a transparency and technology. Professor Yang, how to combat corruption? Especially we have South Korea. South Korea succeeds, for combating corruption so far.
Yeah, a good government to good administration or the combating corruption. I think I will say technically and technical point. If we more transparent in government activities, for example, in Korea, the Ministry of Economy all manage the budget, national budget, and also the public Institute of Public Audit also every time see or share together the money, where goes money, where comes. And it's linked also to the provincial government and local government. So every citizen can see the money flows.
Yes.
So it's in digitalized and transparent, maybe for us, it's a big power. Nevertheless, private sector, but not government sector, but private sector at the bank, for example.
Yes.
They use fully they utilize that digital system, and they detour the money. Embezzlement, kind of.
Great.
So that's the problem.
So we have 4 questions. It's a leadership role, technology, and the transparency of the budget flows. So people must know where is the budget goes. That is kind of how to reduce corruptions. Thank you. Now, hanging there, professors, we still have a lot of questions until, okay, we have another 25 minutes. Please, committee, show the question, please. We have a question from Zoom and YouTube. Yes, wow. Daisy, UNDP, from UNDP land, a question to Professor Paula. As you mentioned, Brazil and Indonesia have a similarities in climate and social culture. In regard to recover stronger, recover together, this is our term for the G20, and also the G20 cooperation. What kind of cooperation and collaboration need to improve between the two countries, especially after COVID pandemic? Yes, Professor Paula.
Well, thank you for the question. And well, I much more I know of Indonesia, more I know what you are learning and improving in public administration, more I see similarities with Brazil. And the areas where I see concrete possibilities now for us is about our bureaucracies, our public service, and how we are learning in open government and social accountability initiatives. In Indonesia and in Brazil, we have many initiatives in the local level that were like places to develop innovations that were scaled for the national level. And even in Brazil, we have the same reality. So I guess we could establish like a comparative project between our institutions to systematize and compare some of these initiatives and their results, their methodologies. This is like an avenue for cooperation. And in this topic of combating corruption, the last question, it was about it. I guess we have a lot to share because we improved a lot in combating corruption, but sometimes we were not transparent about the process of combating corruption. We were talking about transparency as a way to avoid corruption and to investigate corruption. But sometimes the investigation process, the imputability process is not transparent. So how can we improve transparency even if in this oversight system and in justice system, not only in the politics and in the executive branch bureaucracy? So maybe in these areas of open government, social accountability, and combating corruption, we have some opportunities. And of course, in themes like the sustainability of forests, our biodiversity, and also in the health sector, because Indonesia and Brazil have good developments in terms of our universal systems of health. And this is one of the priorities of the Indonesian government at this G20 summit. So this is an area where we have a lot of opportunities too.
Okay, thank you, Professor Paula. Social accountability, combating corruption, there's such a cooperation that we could do. And for your information, Professor Paula will come by next year, isn't it, Professor Paula? And then we're going to have her to be our guest speakers also in our campus. Dr. Wright, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Yes, we still have a lot of questions, but we limited due to the time constraints. Please show us the next questions. Wow, Professor Young, you have a question here. From Solehati, NIPA, Republic of Indonesia. Based on your experience in working with many governments in Indonesia, What do you think the first thing Indonesia need to have as developing country? Why not yet use latest technology to be able to establish the good governance? Sir?
First, I think Indonesia can learn from Brazil, because Brazil developed also the direct participatory democracy. It's for example through online e-democracia. Okay, Professor Paula, it's very famous e-democracia. So it's very famous. In Indonesia, same I think is online. Through online, yes, you have all the smartphone devices and other devices. So we can use online, through online, we connect direct participatory democracy. It's not just public administration affairs. For example, in every universities or your home, apartment, your community, you can directly, sometimes you can use online. So in small area or small community, you can use mobile voting system. This is the first step toward the sustainability and transparent society, I think. So it's we have to use our action toolkits I mentioned before. Yeah, so we have to always use so many digital toolkits. Okay.
Okay, good. So from this conference, we're actually doing think globally, act locally. Yeah, we do something small in our environment using the technology. Next question, still we have some more, please. Show up the question, please. And for audience participant, we still have a chance for you before 11:30. Yes, this is for Dr. Wright Benchams from Dia Kartika, Secretary General from our MPR, from our what you call that, representative board. How to maintain the public trust to government or public organization properly at the normal situation and the crisis situation as well. Professor Dr. Wright.
Thank you. Communication. Without bi-directional communication, trust cannot be built, because trust is taken, it's not given. So unless the government institutions have the great efforts to bring the communication to the layman person, and keep communicating between the public organizations themselves, things are not going to be understood. Positions are not going to be well comprehended. And if it is not done during the peace time, it's not going to be done during the wartime. So if you don't really invest real communication and efforts to build trust during the good times, the bad times is going to be even much more difficult. On the other side, the side of the actions, the side of the syntactics, they need to show real progress on the ground for people to give that confidence, to get the confidence into your actions. If you keep talking about things which are not being done on the ground, people are not going to believe you anymore. Even if you communicate, they need to see actions. You are going to be the role models for people to work on things, how things are being done. So convert your communication into actions and show some success there, so that people can then people will trust, and then you can build on that further down the line. Thank you.
Wow, that's a strong statement. Communication, communication, and communication. And take your communication into actions. So not only talk and talk and talk, but it should be in actions. As Professor Paula always also say, that truth, trust, and transparency. There's a really good, and a strong point that we have today. We still have some minutes to save. Before every speaker will have a closing statement, I will have one more question, especially ladies' questions. Good, yes, you, yes. I'm sorry, so to be gender's purpose here. After man, there is a man. Yes.
Good afternoon, Prof. Nurliah. Maybe my question would be for Professor An, since he's here. I'm very sorry. My name is Anissa, and I'm from the Ministry of Law and Human Rights, and also a student in NIPA-School of Administration in Jakarta. I'm very amazed of the big data in South Korea, and also the digital service for the government service, and also for the business purpose. And my question would be like how the government of South Korea start to think or take an action in terms of the security policy in relation to the digital transformation of the service in South Korea, because I think currently in Indonesia, we are facing the problem of digital security. We had some mishap in data breach, government data breach, and also even for the business data. And I think it is very crucial, because once the government can ensure the public that their data are safety on the government's hand, then there would be like easily become involved in the transformation, in the digital transformation, and collaborate more effectively in the digital transformation service. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really important issues in Indonesia. Digital security. How can we have our data safe? Not only our personal data, but government data. We heard some times ago that the government's office being hacked the data. So what is in your experience, how to solve this?
Yeah, a very good question. So very important question also. In Korea, first, I think it's the private sector always, they were powerful, especially the Samsung conglomerate. In that case, in government, cannot do the kind of master plan for digitalization. So as the minister, President of the Republic of Korea, nominate the Samsung CEO. So Samsung CEO came into government and make a master plans more than 20 years ago. So, but I didn't mention in my presentation, but now Indonesia work with Korea, especially to produce or organize basic data. What is basic data? Basic data is you have to record a birth, a family activity, or something, family documents, and about the birth and death, the other movement, you move to the other houses. In the case, we have to follow the data. So now, because Indonesia is a huge country, a little bit difficult, but step by step, it's now achieving the big data system. So in that case, private sector have to be helper, or have to be the assistants. Yeah. So government have to open their position, even higher ranking position to the business sector, and listen Professor Layad told communication, yes. Between two public-private sector, communication is needed also. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yang. So I hope this answers it. This communications always. We actually going to the near closing, but hold on, we have live questions on Zoom. Yeah, I'm not just reading it. There's a live questions. Please show us Dr. Azwar. He's the chair, is the head of Centers of Research.
No, actually no question, Prof. Nurliah.
Yes,
I just want to talk to Thurmaier.
Yes.
No question, actually. I just want to say hello to Thurmaier. I hope you still remember me, Prof.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. No question, Prof.
Questions. Professor Kurt, when I saw your biking, when we met up last June, say, oh, Professor Kurt is my professor too. Thank you, Dr. Azwar, for showing up.
Thank you.
Okay, it's nice of you. Now, let us hear the closing statements from our panelists today. We're really great to have them, even in the 3 different continents, really sharp, different times. Let's hear 3 minutes closing statement. We started again from Professor Thurmaier. 3 minutes closing of this presentation and international conference, including your expectations after this conference. What can be done between universities collaboration?
Yeah, well, thank you again for inviting me to participate. I was able to learn a lot from my other panelists, colleagues, and I think the themes are pretty clear that that if you're going to have progress, you have to have partnership with citizens. You have to be able to engage with citizens, and you have to be able to engage with them with the tools that they need as well. So that means that they have to have the information that's required, that you need skills in government actors. So as Professor Paula said, you have to have people who can put people and government people together to co-produce these solutions. To think that government can do this because they're smarter than the people is kind of a risky business, and often politicians who think that way find themselves out of a job. So it seems important for me from the other presentations that the data are available. The technology is less the problem than how government is willing to use the technology to engage with people. And you have to trust that the people, even if you don't think their ideas are the right ones, you can still probably learn something about what they have to say about your idea, and so on. So I think that's really important. And so I appreciate the tutorials I received from my colleagues. I think the last thing that I would say in terms of the follow-up is that I think there's a lot of interesting possibilities in Indonesia for using technology, for using Balancing Act or other simulation software. And it's not very complicated. I use it for teaching in my Master of Public Administration class. So I'm hoping that some local governments in Indonesia might be interested in being the pioneers that could try using some simulations for engaging with their citizens, and in any of those 3 modalities that are available. I'd be interested in helping that.
Thank you, Professor Kurt. So the question is, how willingness of government to engage with technology? That's a really good question. Professor Paula, your closing statement?
Oh, I would like to thank again, Nurliah. It's really a great pleasure. We are here today. We met in Rome and in the Congress of promoted by, IAPA, and it was amazing to meet you there and to have this opportunity. I also learned a lot, and I with my colleagues here and the questions, and Professor Kurt summarized very well. And I would add that Brazil and Indonesia, we have to recognize that we are improving a lot in using technology and promoting citizen participation and opening our government, but we still are very unequal countries. We have a lot of huge gaps, and sometimes these innovations, these new technologies are not available for everyone. So we have to have in mind, to take in mind that it's our role as researchers and as public servants, as activists, to promote equity, to promote access and equality to public services, especially for those who are more vulnerable. So we have to take this in mind all the time. And in this use of technology and digitalization, it's also important to be accountable, transparent, and to be guided by ethics in how we use technology, how we produce and use data. So it's like a techno-political process, a technical and ethical process all the time. And we have to take in mind that it's not just about technology, it's also about values. It's also about who we prioritize when we make our decisions. So I hope we have another opportunity to be together, maybe in another conference, another panel. And I invite Nurliah here formally and with my heart to be here in Brazil. And I hope to visit you in Indonesia next year. And for all the colleagues in this panel, I hope to have the opportunity to invite you to come to Brazil too. And then we can continue this amazing conversation. Thank you.
MashaAllah, that's really great of this opportunity. We open a collaboration. So my PhD student who's coming to Brazil, not only watching the football. Okay, thank you, Professor Paula. The key is the technology has a failures. So we're not thinking about only technology, but failures. Good point. Dr. Wright, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. Again, thanks for the invitation, Professor Nurliah. I think we all agree that we have learned the hard way through the pandemic. And we all agree also that many other crises are coming soon and big. How much are we prepared? How much have we really put efforts to think for the future, anticipate, and innovate for the future? Not innovate to create products or services, but to innovate, to anticipate such type of things. And how can we really prepare ourselves? We need to create governance structures that enable us to handle the crisis in the future. That cannot be done if we do not go into the details of the possibilities of the future and look at the components that we need to put our thoughts and hands in creating, in developing, either people, leaders or technocrats, or even our societies, educating them, bringing them to a level of understanding, common understanding, to work together. But at the same time, we need to create mechanisms for communications. Communication doesn't really happen by itself. We need to create mechanisms for communication. We need to work from now very hard. I mean, I would take my colleagues' a comment about basic data in Indonesia. This was key for our success during COVID, because we started this basic data in 1984 in Bahrain. By 1999, all government institutions are linked through email. now we have all the data that needs to be done, that needs to be used for the application. So the application is not the facade, which is outside, how it really looks and so on, but it's all the data behind it. It's all the links behind it. And that wouldn't have happened if it was just done during the crisis. So such type of things needs to be prepared long time and needs lots of efforts, but again, needs not lots of thoughts to be put from now for the work and the future that comes. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Dr. Right. It's communication is really important, and how do we prepare the structure of governments to prepare for the next constraints, not only pandemic. Now we have Professor Yang, who's in real coming here. We also expect actually next year you're all coming. Professor Yang, what is your closing statement, please?
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of today's themes, I would like to say to the excellent and audience, because you are at the forefront of advancing your country. Because so today's theme, we already know the leadership in the new era, the era of digital society, digital government. So Professor Laird repeated the communication, and also in the era of digital society, the leadership is not just hierarchical. Leadership don't come from your actual position or future position. So you have to talk, communicate with your colleague and with your superior and with your interior colleagues. Because I know Indonesia is so promising country because you have so many young generations, and you show your society great vivacity showed. So again, I thank you so much to be here and to have the excellent colleagues here. I thank you so much, all the colleagues, and just please don't envy me my situation, because here I'm well treated. Yeah, great hospitality I enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. And let's give applause to any of our speakers. My dear students who's attending directly in these rooms, McCarthy, and also my honor speakers. And also I'm proudly saying thank you for the participant by Zoom and by YouTube. This is the end of our conference, international conference, which is, we have this for the 4th time. And what I said earlier, that this is great because we succeed to have more international panelists, which is different times, different countries, different continents. The conclusion of this conference is that digital governments, digital transformations make this easier way to have a structures of government more trustable, more accountable. And then as the students, as the government employer, as the society, we all need to engage with this governments, not only the budget transparency, but also the decision making. I am Nurliah Nurdin. I'm grateful to host this conference. And again, I really thank you. I'm really grateful for our speakers who stay up late at night, Professor Kurt, Professor Paula, and also we hope Professor Dr. He's about going to Tawaf, right? And then okay, hold on, I'm joining this conference first. And also special thank you for Professor Yang for coming himself here. And also the committee who has been thinking a lot over there, and others, and the dancings. We all save this in one digital document we will send for our speakers and the best pictures. Again, thank you very much. We're going to see you next year with more international participants. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Professor Dr. Nurdin, M.A. as moderator as the plenary session, and to all the speakers for all the knowledge and insight you've given. Oh, okay. Now, you're pleased? Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached conclusion of our first plenary session. And we would also like to inform you some point before we move to the second session, that is the parallel session. First, for the participant certificate, please fill the attendance form shared by the committee in the chat on Zoom, and also the link that will be given to you in front of the stage. Second, we have organized in total 20 parallel rooms that you can join. The rooms will be in the third and the fourth floor of NIPA-School of Administration Jakarta building. Please check the schedule on your program book. Third, we will have a break for prayer and lunch until 12:30 Western Indonesian time. The buffet is available in the right side of this room. Fourth, we would like to invite you to come to the parallel session that's scheduled at 12:30 Western Indonesian time. Fifth, to all participants, both online and offline, please join in the closing at 3 p.m. for announcements of best paper, best presenter, best question, and best social media posting, and also best partner. Finally, this is the end of the first session. I would like to extend our gratitude to all the speakers and all the participants. See you on the next session very soon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Happy boot scuffs.
There was another.
Ya, kepada seluruh hadirin yang ingin melaksanakan hidangan, dipersilahkan untuk ambil buffet di sebelah kanan ruang ya.
Kepada Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, silakan untuk mengambil buffet makan siang di sebelah kiri saya. Dipersilakan. Terima kasih.